the Maroon jersey for me was a pinnacle of rugby league. That was just my opinion, and I had people say the Australian jersey is the pinnacle, but for me, because I grew up and I've watched that first Origin game in Cairns around the TV, and our little black and white TV in Cairns with my dad and all my brothers and sisters and family, and it was just we just thought it was the greatest thing we'd ever seen, and especially with Arthur Beetson and the first fight that they had. I remember the next day we all went to school and everyone's punching each other, pretending to be Arthur Beetson, and it was. And from that day, I grew the desire to play for Queensland.
As we take you back inside the dressing rooms, players milling around, nervously waiting to go onto the Melbourne cricket ground.
Well, for me, we won the first game and everyone was on top of the world. We came back together and nobody was doubting anything. It was still there. The feeling was still there. We had a great camp where everybody was looking after each other. There was no animosity. Everything was just working out. We're having a hell of a time. And for me, I go back to when I sort of had the opportunity, mate, to lay the platform for you coming into Camp 1. And when we're at the Travelodge and we get into camp, and I was down shifting Toss's car, just another little errand that he had me doing. And you got out of the car, and we got it. I went and introduced myself, and we went and we stood in the lift. And Toss said to me, "Chop, I want you to, get as much inspiration into me as you can." And I thought, well, I don't know Jed very well, but I know what he thinks like, and I know how he plays. So I was standing there and I said, "Jed, Jesus, mate, I'm glad you're in this team." I said, "I'm glad I've run into you because I heard from the boys down in Sydney that they're very glad you got picked." And you've looked at me and you've gone, "Yeah?" I said, "Yeah." They said, they think you're a bit soft. They think you're lucky. They're pretty happy that you're in the side. And you've gone, "We'll see." That was it. That was all I got out of you. And I knew in game 2, coming into game 2, if there was the big wind-up, wasn't there, about if somebody yells out Queensland, you tell that story. But I knew that you were primed. You were ready to roll. And I'll throw it to you, Fatty, now about the Queenslander story.
Yeah, well, so just before that, so Dale Shearer obviously hurt his shoulder in the first game. He was crook and he was playing in the number 6 for us, and so he was unavailable for game 2. So had to find a 5'8". There was none, right? So what had happened in the meantime, Jason Smith and Dean Pay had signed for Canterbury in the Super League. Yeah. They got out of that somehow, and then they re-signed with Parramatta, who were with the ARL. Yeah. So now Jason Smith's available to play for Queensland. He played for them in '94. So I rang him. I said, "Mate, Fatty," he said, "Oh yeah, mate, great win. I watched it. It was great." I said, "Listen, I'm going to pick you in game 2. He said, "Oh, great." I said, "Yeah, but I need you to play 5'8". You've got great ball skill as a back rower, but you think you can play 5? Oh, play anywhere." So he got picked in the number 6. Yeah. And mate, he was unbelievable. He was. He was so good the last 2 games. So he came into the team. So, and he, like a glove, he fitted in so good. And it's the day of the game. We've had a great camp. We've been in Melbourne for a couple of days. The day of the game, and I get a whisper about the Queenslander call. A mate of mine says, "Mate, the New South Wales guys are hating the Queenslander call." And Phil Gould has instructed them, the first time that one of those blokes in the maroon jumper yells out Queenslander, smash him. So I'm saying this to our boys. Yeah. I said, "So, there's the challenge, boys." I said, "Who's going to yell it out first?" 17 hands go up, then the bus driver, and then Tosser. They've all got their arms up. Yeah. I said, "Oh, this is going to be good." I said, "All right, let's go." So, this is a pretty big game. We're in Melbourne. If we win it, we've won our first series since 1991. Yep. And so this is a massive game. And, it was touch and go. I remember we scored a try before half-time. I still don't know if it was a try, because Jason Smith put a kick over and then he picked it up. But as he was picking up, I think he might have knocked it on. Might have. Possibly not.
Scoreboard doesn't say that.
Doesn't say that. And then he passed it to Mark Coyne. Coyne goes over. I think we're leaving by 4 or 6 at half time. So what I do remember is at half time, Billy Moore had come off. He's laying on the table and the doctor's over him and he's got a needle in his ribs, right? And go. He said, yeah, this is a second needle. Just leave it with me and I'll... So talk to the team, blah, blah, blah. Come back into the dressing room. Doc's got another needle. I said, how many's that? He said, that's 5. He said, I can't give him any more. And Billy's now crying. He's going, I'm going back on, I'm going. And Doc's going, no. I think he's got broken ribs. So I had a light bulb moment. I took the whole team in. We're standing around Billy. He's laying there and he's crying his eyes out. I said, look at him. He's got 12 broken ribs and he wants to go back on. Have a look at him. And he's crying because it's hurting. It's in pain. Let's go and win it for Billy. So out we went. Anyway, so just back on the brawl thing. So about 6 minutes or 12 minutes into the game, there's a scrum being packed. And I thought Wayne Bartram yelled it out.
Yeah, he was the first one.
Anyway, so we're sitting up in the grandstand, me and Chop. And even from that we should hear this, Queensland.
Well, the pipeline finally got it right. We were told by the pipeline that this would be on in the first scrum of State of Origin 1. They got it wrong by about 16 days. Have a look at it on replay. The halfbacks, they didn't miss each other. Wishart was giving Andrew Johns every available assistance.
The referee's told the captains to settle the players down. It's a general warning. And really what you're seeing there now is a build-up of what has happened over the last week and a half. The worst thing about State of Origin is waiting for the game to come around.
Who did you handle?
Oh, we had a couple coming at me. I think Harrigan, he wanted a piece of me because I'd been, I knocked him out in a game a few years back, and he was chasing me ever since.
Yeah, right.
It was his chance to get back at me, and I think Flora, mate, he might have come in from the side.
He opened you up, didn't he?
Yeah, no, actually, I got opened up in a tackle, actually.
Oh, did you?
It wasn't in the fight at all.
It's a better story if it was in the fight.
Yeah. Well, I'm getting a couple of stitches and there's nothing to win in Series 3 now, mate.
That's right, yeah, absolutely.
Pretty easily done. But just on that fight, you know, we sort of were talking, in the first game, we were talking on the field with Gilly and Tony Hearn, we were talking about, we weren't sure, you know, what we were going to come up against. You know, we knew we had a pretty relatively inexperienced side, so we wanted to, you know, if we wanted to get a little bit of an edge, we might have to put a bit of a blue on in the scrum. So we spoke about it at training just before that first game, and then we get on the field and we're going that well. It was after about 10 minutes, we're packing our first scrum, and Tony Hearn looks over and he goes, it's on, and I said, leave it, mate. I said, we're going well, we'll just leave it alone. So it didn't happen till the... Didn't happen till
I told the story earlier. At training, and you said to me, can I ask you a question? And I said, yeah, Jeb, what... Are we allowed to fight now? So well, you were ready, but it was. I
wanted to get permission.
Yeah, okay,
first,
sure.
But
permission granted.
Yeah, but you know, it wasn't. We were playing that well, and I thought, you know, it wasn't warranted. So we just got on and played football, and you know,
that's good.
Just winning that game 2-0, and as Choppy said before, like that grew. The boys just grew another leg after that. Really, I mean. They knew what they were capable of after that.
And they played well, mate.
And I remember so clearly when Fatty said, if they don't score, they can't win. And I remember you saying that, and I went, yeah, you're right, you know. But we didn't score either. But we got to kick a penalty goal, and that's all we needed.
And I remember the second game was touch and go, and then they came back at us late, and you were bleeding. Tony Hearn was crook. He came off and had a spell as well. But you know, mate, all our reserves, they did such a great job Teeves was fantastic around the middle of the ruck. Terry Cook
Grew an extra leg.
set up that try for Adrian Lamb back on the inside. Honey was just, he was rock solid, Honey.
Yeah.
He was so good.
Right across the park. Matty Singh, Brady Dallas, the whole lot of them, mate.
Yeah.
Well, yeah, we just had that, a bunch of young blokes, relatively unknown. Like, I'm playing with the guys. I'd never even heard of half the fellas. And, after that series, they were pretty much household names,
Yeah. I mean,
It just goes to show what they can
we
do.
had a great skipper. He was fantastic.
So we've got to be
Billy.
a bit honest about it, though, because you were on there when the fight started, and without your performance, I would say it was one of Queensland's worst performances in a fight I've ever seen in my life. Fair dinkum. Matty Singh was punching Hopewadi, I think, in the back, like
I know.
giving him rabbit
No one
killers.
actually landed a punch in 5
He was
minutes.
giving him rabbit killers. Billy Moore swung 17
Yeah.
punches and never landed
At
one.
Barnhill, yeah. Here you are. Look, this is. Look at Billy still throwing them.
The important part of that was, I remember Fatty saying, we're going to get it over and done with, and then we're going to put it to bed and we're going to play football. And I remember
That's what I
that.
said,
And the boys did exactly that.
Once it's done, forget about it and just get on play.
I remember when I come off at half time and you looked at me and you said, no more fighting, that's it. And I said, no worries, mate.
This is the kick. Now, does he knock this on or not?
No chance.
Nah, he didn't touch it.
But I love the camaraderie from everyone as well. That this team, and I haven't seen a couple of you blokes in. I've seen you a lot, Jed, but 20 years. But I can't wait to see them over the next year.
Absolutely, yeah.
Let's give them a big hug and a kiss.
I don't know, whether they get the credit that they deserve for the way they played that year. And you're right, Fatty, it did put us back on the map, mate.
Yeah.
Put us back on the rugby league map. And on the back of all these young blokes that we call, what you call the Nobodies, Neville Nobodies.
Yeah, I've never seen a football team come together that quickly and just bind so quickly, because there was not one person in that side that wanted to let anyone down.
No.
And no one wanted to be that bloke, that would let anyone down.
And mate, every single player played as good as they possibly could.
And
they gave everything they had.
If you look at the rise in people, Matty Singh, he must have saved 5 tries that series.
Yeah.
At least 5.
I reckon more.
Where he just put his body on the line and just got in there and dug in and didn't allow him to score.
And Gary Larson.
Gary
and
Larson,
Danny
another
Moore.
one, yeah. Danny Moore was outstanding
Yeah.
in the game one.
Yeah.
So it was,
Look at Tony Hearn.
it was amazing.
How would Tony, is that the only intercept he ever took in his life, I reckon? Tony Hearn. He was so good.
He's
I went up to
passionate.
Ernie at the last training session to tell him something,
Yeah. Look
and
at
he
this.
He looked at me and he started crying. He said, will you just go away, Chop? I said, I can't talk to you at the moment.
Yeah. Because as I said, this team is chock full of talent. The
Look at
New South
that.
Wales team.
Matty
but,
Singh.
mate,
Just
we
catches it.
we just outplayed them.
Absolutely. And
Again, they just kept coming and coming and coming. Look at this. How did he not score? Beaver.
absolutely.
You know,
Held him up. Yeah, Barts. That was Barts
Yeah.
held him up.
Robbie O under him.
Terry Cook.
Terry Cook over the top and Yeah. But so second half they came back hard at us, and then it was like 2 minutes to go, Choppy, and we're sitting on the sideline now. And
Brings shivers up my spine, mate.
Eddie Ward was the ref,
Yeah.
and was it Menzies went over for a try,
Yeah.
or Brasher, one of those two. And I remember getting up and going, all right, and they went to the lead, right? They're going to beat us, a minute to go. And I said to Choppy, all right, we'll get them in Brisbane. Choppy goes, it's a forward pass! Eddie Ward's going like this, forward pass.
Yeah.
Oh my God, how good was this? And then Brett Dallas, 2 tackles later, picks up the ball from dummy half. 90 metres he ran.
Absolutely
It's the
sensational.
greatest thing I've ever seen.
Here he goes.
And this is
Here he goes.
this is
Fatty.
it. This is it. This is the match winner.
What's he saying there when he gets away?
14-12 to 20-12.
When he looks back, what's he
Yeah,
saying?
he's saying, come on, you such and suches. Come on, get me.
They couldn't
And that
blow
was
wind up
it.
his backside either. He was just out.
Gary Belcher, and then he's saying, oh, they put the boot in. And mate, that's our first series win since 1991.
Yeah.
I was so happy for the boys, so happy. It was a great moment.
They were happy as well.
Oh mate, the great tosser Turner.
Yeah.
Vautin has pulled off a coaching miracle.
Look at the Meister, Gilly, yeah, the great skipper.
Yeah, he was outstanding, wasn't he, as a captain?
Tough game, mate.
Yeah.
We deserved to win the game. We deserved to win the series, and you know, you don't always get what you deserve in life, but in this time we did. You know, I don't think we won the fight, but we definitely won the series. So that's all that matters.
One of the things that for me, you know, and I was only the manager, I never played in any of these games, but I remember before the first game, and they announced that there was no Super League players and all those sort of things, and people were saying, Queenslanders were saying, oh, we may as well give our tickets back. We're just going to get smashed. We'll never win a game again, you know. And for these guys to go out there, I don't think anybody has realised what a gargantuan effort it was for those blokes on the field. And you were part of that, Jed. You coached them, Fatty.
Yeah.
And as I said, I was there as the manager, and we know what it took to get there, to do that. And it should never, ever be forgotten in our history.
I remember the first night we went out here in Brisbane, and we went down I think it was Friday's nightclub or City Rose, one of those bars. We're having a few.
We're drinking jugs of Illusions, if I could remember rightly, yeah. But it wasn't the most masculine drink.
I was pretty strict on this.
You were, mate, yeah. No. I think you bought the first jug.
So we were having a couple of drinks, and we had the Queensland, the boys had the shirts on, and the Queensland shirts, and there was members of the public were sort of bagging a few of the guys, saying, oh, who are you, and who are you, you don't play for Queensland, and all this sort of stuff. I'd been in previous Origin series, and you know, you'd go out and you'd be respected by the public. This team didn't look like they were getting the respect, and by game 3, it was back like the old days.
Yeah,
you go out there and
ran out at Lang Park.
There were people just
unbelievable
everywhere.
Our preparation for game 3 was amazing. Like the strict regime that you brought to the camp, Fatty, really sort of was the icing on the cake, wasn't it?
One rule I always remember Fatty bringing in, which I thought was good, is no drinking after Saturday night.
Yes.
We went into camp on Monday, but we weren't to drink after Saturday night.
The games were on Tuesdays back in those days. They were Tuesday nights.
Yeah. So a few games.
So, you know, we had 2 nights off the drink. You know, I think that's fair enough.
Yeah. It's a great preparation.
No, it's good.
It worked.
It worked.
Yeah.
Game 3, I remember the boys came back into camp, said, right, now look, we've won the series, but I don't care about that.
We extended the camp as well. You actually negotiated an extra day in camp.
I think we had 12
as a reward.
12-day camp instead of 10. Yeah. I said, but you know, and I see this game as the most important of the not because we can win 3-0, because no, we're home. We're home here. We're home at Lang Park, Suncorp Stadium now, and we're doing it in front of, you've got your family in the crowd, you've got your friends, and all these people, they travel from all around Queensland to watch us. And what better way to send them off than sticking it right up New South Wales and beating them 3-0. This is the most important game you'll ever play in your life. And it just went from there.